cannot continue the cycle of extending or expanding our military presence in Afghanistan, hoping to create ideal conditions for the withdrawal.
Welcome to the Military Times Reporters Roundtable. I'm Leo Shane, Capitol Hill Bureau Chief for Military Times. Each week we bring you the news behind the biggest headlines. And this week the biggest headline was Afghanistan. After almost 20 years at war there, President Joe Biden announced that we're going to withdraw all troops from the country by September 11th. This is obviously very big news. I have with me here today our Pentagon Bureau Chief, Megan Myers, and our Executive Editor, Andrew Tillman. Both of you, thanks for coming. Megan, talk to me about what our troop presence is in Afghanistan right now and what this means to start pulling folks out.
So there are 2,500 troops on the ground in Afghanistan officially. It's unclear whether that includes special operations forces or not. But in any case, the task now for CENTCOM and for the services is to start looking at their rotation calendars and see who's scheduled to come home in the next few months, who's going to need to replace people in the next few months, and how they're going to be able to keep the presence, particularly the security and the counter ISIS presence that they have there, steady for the next few months until they can kind of bring it back down in September while keeping the forces who are still there and the forces who are leaving safe.
And I know President Biden was looking at a May 1st deadline that was set by the previous administration to get all troops out of there. One of the comments that the White House had said was that it wasn't safe to pull folks out that quickly. They needed more time to review and everything. So does that extra few months really create that much more safety, or is this just prolonging some of the process?
One of the big parts, one of the more important parts of withdrawing troops is getting rid of all of the equipment that is there, either being able to bring it home or pass it along to Afghan troops if that's what the plan is, or to destroy things in some cases. And that was a lot of the concern about the May 1st deadline, is that physically you could move people out, but the important equipment that we have there, you don't want it to fall into the wrong hands. And so how are they going to be able to get all of that out on the May 1st deadline? Now they have a few more months to figure that stuff out.
Okay, so that's what it means for the Pentagon. Andrew, what does this mean for the military at large and for security in the region?
Well, I think this is going to be really big news around the world. I mean, it doesn't really come as a huge surprise to us because we've been tracking it, but the world is going to take note. And I think that the analogy that the Pentagon would dread is, the Soviets were in Afghanistan for a while and they pulled out, and that really wasn't a very good sign for the future of their military powers. Afghanistan, as we've talked about for many years, is a really strategically located place. I mean, it borders Iran, it borders China, it's close to Russia, and it really gave us a lot of operational flexibility across the whole, of Eurasia. And, if we're going to pull everybody out and we're not going to have that, that's a setback in terms of future operations. So as much as everyone for 20 years has said we weren't there in Afghanistan, to occupy it militarily, that was realistically one of the reasons we were there, is because of its strategic advantage. And I think that, the people inside the Pentagon who plan these kinds of operations are going to note that. And I think our adversaries are also going to note that we no longer have that as a launching pad.
Yeah, that's a good point. Megan, what does withdrawal mean? I mean, are we going to have everybody out, or are we still going to have some teams of folks working in the region?
That remains to be seen, and it may be a little bit difficult to even suss that out in the next few months, because the Pentagon is a little reluctant to give the footprint of the special operations forces that are in Afghanistan. And so there's still a very important, anti-counterterrorism mission in Afghanistan. We are committed to, stomping out ISIS in Iraq and in Syria, and there is also a contingent in Afghanistan. So it seems likely that there will be a small footprint of special operations forces for that mission.
No, and that's a great point, and that's one of the big questions here. I know on Capitol Hill right now, there's a lot of concerns about what the details are and just how is this going to be? Are there some conditions that will be followed here? Is there any way to pull it back? Or if things get worse, will the president consider leaving folks there for a while? So still a lot of questions to get answered. I guess the big one for you two is, where do we go from here? Do we think that this is going to finally be the end of this war, or is this just, yet another phase, yet another transition? We've talked about the forever war for so long. It's hard to think of a time when there's not a sizable troop presence in Afghanistan. Andrew, what do you think?
Well, we did pull out of Iraq officially in 2011, and we were not there for several years. But, with the rise of ISIS, and I believe it was 2016, we went back. And I think that with Afghanistan, we can pull everybody out, but we're still going to have a real detailed knowledge of that country. It has a really good military infrastructure that we built. We still have a lot of relationships with the Afghan security forces. So, President Biden can pull us out, but it's going to be very easy to go back in if at any point we feel like we need to.
Well, that's something we'll be watching over the next few months and frankly, probably the next few years. So thank you to both of you for your thoughts. You can read more about this at militarytimes.com, and we'll see you next week.